Hello, this is Deacon Larry, and this is Renewed. Hello. I was thinking recently about the experience of listening to Renewed. I was listening to my own voice, and I noticed that in listening to my voice, there are times when I can hear a particular wheeze or a kind of weakness in my voice, and I appreciate your hanging in and listening to me as I talk on those occasions where the voice is like that. It caused me to reflect on something St. Paul tells us that's so important, and that God does indeed use earthen vessels. He uses weak human beings in order to proclaim His message, to live His message, to share His message in the world. I was reflecting with a friend the other day who was struggling with being and coming back to a church, his own parish, in which he had experienced an adverse reaction or relationship with the priest minister in that parish. And so his resolution to that for the time being was it was easier to stay away than to be present. It reminded me of a problem in the ancient church back in the 5th century, 4th century even. St. Augustine of Hippo was one of the great fighters against the heresy that's known as Dontatism. And like all heresies, we believe very much that they were realities in the past and they can creep their way into our lives today. And we, even in the church in the United States, have experienced the Donatism of sorts in recent history. Donatism was a teaching by a large number of Christians. In fact, in almost every diocese in North Africa and many in Italy in the 3rd and 4th century, there was a Donatist bishop as well as a Catholic bishop. And the Donatists stood for this. They believed that if the minister was sinful, the sacrament was invalid. And so imagine every time that there was somebody who had misbehaved or was untoward towards somebody else or had a negative attitude, as a minister, their baptisms, the marriages, the Eucharist would have been invalid. The church early on recognized this as a problem and said, the minister of the sacraments, ultimately the one who makes baptism, baptism, the one who makes confirmation, confirmation, is indeed the Spirit of God. It is Christ present to us in His Spirit through the minister that allows the sacraments to work their wonderful magic of grace in our lives. So one of the things that when we have those occasions, it's a good reminder for us that when we encounter a deacon who is unkind, a priest who is uncharitable, somebody who doesn't live out the faith in the manner in which we want it to be lived out, if we remove ourselves from the Eucharistic community, we've lost. Because the minister still brings to us the presence of Christ and His Spirit. It's a difficult teaching at once that calls us to be humble, because we do have to recognize that God's power far exceeds our expectations. He goes beyond the limits of our human weakness. When my voice is weak, I know if I'm proclaiming the gospel, it's a weak voice, but it's strong because it is Christ's word that is indeed being proclaimed by Christ through my voice. So let us all remember, when we're frustrated, when we're challenged, when we think that our ministers don't live up to what we hope they do, that God indeed does use earthen vessels in order to communicate His grace. And let us not lose by removing ourselves from the community. With that, there's hope always that we can be renewed, and perhaps our presence can help to renew those with whom we are frustrated. Thank you.
Please like, subscribe, or comment below.